Long live the streak. The streak is dead. Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. And for all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show. It had been 7 long games since the Winnipeg Jets had registered a victory. That is no longer the case thanks to the panacea that is the Calgary Flames, a disaster of a hockey team. The Jets, with the all-important, much-needed, desperately coming 4-0 victory over the Flames tonight, getting a power play goal, getting a shorthanded goal, and getting 2 goals at 5-on-5. It's an offensive explosion at the same time as they register a shutout. I'm your host, Drew Mandel, joined by Ezra Ginsburg and Dave Minuk, or at least the artist impersonating Ezra Ginsburg, because this is the first time I have seen him since the beard went by the wayside on Monday night. Gentlemen, it's good to see you both. Ezra, you look like you're about 20 years old instead of your abominable snowman look that you were going with earlier.
Appreciate that, Drew, and that was a nice little soliloquy to get us started here. Thank God that this streak is over, guys. I didn't think that I would be able to talk about this any longer, but you mentioned, Drew, you get a shorthanded goal, a power play goal, some even strength goals, and we talked about this, Dave, a couple of nights ago, right? Like Adam Lowry's importance, on this team. And, you see it in all aspects of the game. And he was just all over the ice. And obviously, shorthanded, we know the impact he has on the Jets penalty kill. But what a game for Lowry. One of the best games I've seen him. And he just can't get that extra goal to get his first career hat trick. It looked like earlier in the game he was on his way to getting that hat trick. But and also Blake Wheeler, guys, we know that he comes out and talks to the media, after every game. And, you could tell, especially after that 7th loss to Ottawa, like he was running out of answers and he was just as frustrated as the rest of the team. But, you could see it in his body language, right, Dave? And, he comes out and, what a game for him. So overall, this is just exactly how you would like to get out of this losing streak, right? Like the special teams were struggling, so you can check that box off. Hellebuyck gets the shutout. He makes 30+ saves, even though most of those saves weren't of the difficult variety. But at this point, boys, I guess it just took Cinco de Mayo to get the Jets out of this one. So it's just nice that they're back in the win column, and hopefully they can, ride that into the homestand and get a couple of wins, put together maybe 3 or 4 wins, and then head into the playoffs feeling much more positive about their game.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, it's one of those things, as after the last game, you thought to yourself, what are we going to talk about? Is it going to be the exact same conversation again? And Drew and I were texting about this, the idea that either folks are going to riot in the streets, a little bit of hyperbole there, or it's going to be a release valve. And, obviously clinching a playoff spot is important for the Winnipeg Jets, because despite the fact that it was obviously most likely a foregone conclusion based on how things had gone in Calgary, they weren't mathematically eliminated. I believe they're mathematically eliminated, obviously, from catching the Jets, hence the reason the Jets are now clinched. But I think Calgary can still catch Montreal. So they're not technically out of it, but the reality is they're out of it, and we know that. So the fact is that it's a big game for the Jets. And it's really what they needed. It's the final road game of the season. We know generally how good this team has been on the road this year, but it was just important. It was an important game for a variety of reasons. You had the pairing of Josh Morrissey and Neil Pionk, which I think gave this team a little more confidence. Ville Heinola, he looked good. It's just his 3rd NHL game yet this season with the Jets. So here's a guy, and it's funny because I remember in the post game that Ez and I were doing, Drew was recovering from his vaccination, but people were like, oh God, you guys are talking about Heinola again. It's like, listen, we don't want to be talking about it again. We'd rather not be talking about it again. But if you're going to ask us what we think is important for this Jets team, one of the things we thought that's important for them to change their fortunes was to include Ville Heinola in the lineup. So he gets into the lineup. That's important. And of course, have to mention Mark Scheifele and Blake Wheeler, big milestone nights for them. Blake Wheeler, his 800th point in the NHL, 690 of which have come with the Jets, and Mark Scheifele picks up his 500. So again, it's one of those games. You end the road trip, you're feeling good, you come back home, and you get a chance to kind of get a little rest and then get going again.
Yeah, I look, this Winnipeg, this was a game that was more familiar to those of us who've watched the Winnipeg Jets win games this year. This was their recipe. Timely goaltending. Connor Hellebuyck was very good tonight. Again, the Flames, I'm looking at it, only had two, according to Natural Stat Trick, they had 3 high danger chances at 5-on-5.
Yeah, it was
during
like
tonight's game.
I think they had 0 after the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, so the Jets did a very nice job of keeping Calgary neutralized in tonight's game in terms of high danger chances. Everything was to the outside that Calgary threw at them, because Calgary's not a very good team, and they certainly showed that tonight.
And as he's gone,
he's
just going to move spots. His internet was getting a little choppy, so Poppy was getting a little sloppy, and Ezzy was getting a little choppy, and we want Ezzy to be coming in clear and smooth like his haircut. So he's gonna reformat and go to a different spot in the house and get a better internet connection.
Well, I've only been telling him, how long has the Jets losing streak been on for? About 3 weeks now?
Something like that. 2.5
Okay,
weeks.
so I've only been telling him for about 12 weeks to, go spend the $20 and buy an Ethernet cable so he could hardwire his internet.
True. If you think Ezzy knows what an Ethernet cable is, you have.
I know. I have no idea that I know what I'm barking up the wrong tree entirely. So maybe once COVID is over, we'll get somebody to go into his house and set him up with a real system. But that's a separate issue altogether. Look, the Jets, this was the recipe for success. Opportunistic, and that's what they were tonight. They were opportunistic when Adam Lowry got his shorthanded 2-on-0 breakaway, with him and Andrew Kopp. They were opportunistic when Lowry opened the scoring, or early in the game on that 2-on-1 opportunity. And, they get the power play marker from Blake Wheeler. They get a nice goal from Blake Wheeler at 5-on-5, just as his.
Hey, just to how the Jets were talking about it was funny because Dylan DeMello and his availability was talking about that idea of the fortunes. They weren't getting the bounces. So we got to stick with it. Eventually they'll come back our way. Well, that was one instance where the Jets got a very fortunate bounce.
Yeah, exactly right. It as easily could have been 3-1 at that point in time. Or I guess 2-1, because it was only 2-0 when that happened, when the puck hit off the crossbar. Oh, look, he's back. He's just as handsome as he was before. But
he looks a little crispier, so that's good.
That's true. The lighting seems to be a little bit better there.
Sorry about that, boys. The internet in the basement's horrible, so I had to move upstairs. I thought I'd give everybody a little tour of my house here.
Yeah, everybody appreciates that. It's 2-0. Actually, we're gonna really appreciate it when you then wake up your kids momentarily and your wife comes out and murders you on the camera.
Well, that's what I'm a little bit worried about here.
Part of the show.
Hopefully, we'll keep them in bed.
It's 2-0 for the Jets. The Flames sort of hit the double crossbar there on that power play opportunity. It doesn't go in, and what happens? The puck immediately goes up the boards and it bounces over. I think it was Juuso Välimäki's stick, leading to Wheeler coming in and getting the 3-0 goal on the breakaway. You're absolutely right, Dave. A change in fortunes that the Jets hadn't been getting those bounces for the last number of games. Now, you oftentimes make your own bounces and you make your own luck. This was an instance where the Jets get a good bounce and then they take advantage of it. And instead of it being a 2-1 game at that point, it's a 3-0 game. And I don't think any of us really thought the Calgary Flames had it in them to come back being down 3-0, finishing the third period.
That was why. I'm sorry, Drew. I was just going to say it was just kind of funny when Dennis was saying that on the broadcast. Well, as long as the Jets can hold on, I'm like, Dennis, the Flames are not coming back down 3-0. Like, the Flames have nothing. They just don't. They just had nothing doing, right? They obviously had some opportunities, but it just didn't look like that Flames team had any chance. When the Jets made it 3-0, it was like, just put a fork in this one because it's done. Yeah,
absolutely. And I thought, Gaudreau, Lindholm, Tkachuk, they actually had a pretty good game and they had some scoring chances. But yeah, I mean, overall, this Flames team isn't very good. And even though they were still mathematically in playoff contention, I don't think anybody actually thought they were going to squeak in. They would basically have to win out. So yeah, I mean, the Jets played a great game. That was a good road game, and I thought that I would say that even after the second goal, I thought that, that game was pretty much wrapped up. The way Hellebuck looked, the way Calgary was playing, and, goes back to what we were talking about, right off the top of the show. Special teams came through big, and that's been something that, earlier in the season, the Jets could depend on, but not so much here, guys. Going back to the homestand, we know how much the power play has struggled, and the penalty kill's better now, but earlier on in the homestand, the penalty kill was struggling. So I think there's a lot you can build off of here going back home. And, Lowry, obviously, he's the star of the game here. But I think there's a lot of takeaways. And Dave mentioned Heinola, like he only plays, what did he play? 13 minutes, 14 minutes. But I really liked him. I thought Dylan DeMello had a really good game. And I thought, Morrissey and Pionk, we know that they can move the puck, and that's one of the main reasons why Maurice puts them together. So I think, guys, going into the next game, you should expect those D pairings to stay the same.
Well, if they don't, then people will have something. They won't have the losing streak to scream about again, but they'll have something else that they can certainly scream about. But
you could always see Derek Forbort come out. I don't know that people would be super upset about that. Throw Logan Stanley in there.
That's fine. But look, if the Jets make changes to their bottom pairing, the Forbort Poolman pairing, I don't think people are going to really give a damn very much one way or the other. But the top four defensemen that you saw tonight for the Winnipeg Jets, Morrissey and Pionk and Heinola and DeMello, it just looked like the defense as a whole and the team as a whole had more jump to their game. And that Pionk and Morrissey, two guys who've been struggling for the last, certainly throughout the losing streak, and Morrissey going back before that, they looked like they had more jump to the game. Morrissey just looked like he played, and I know that the advanced stats will say that Morrissey wasn't very good tonight, and his Corsi 4 was 34.6%. That's in all situations. So at 5-on-5, it was even worse. But I thought that the Jets, I thought they had more jump to their game. I thought they had more energy to their game. Top to bottom, this Winnipeg Jets team certainly looked energized by the addition. And I'm not saying it's strictly that addition, but it seemed like they had more energy in their game as a result of the Ville Heinola being in the lineup. He certainly didn't look out of place. Certainly looked like a top four defenseman on this Winnipeg Jets team. And I think the advantage to moving him into that role is that it also let Forbort and Poolman play easier minutes and let them sort of look more comfortable in their game. Forbort, earlier in the year was terrific, as we've well documented. But if you're telling me that Derek Forbort and Tucker Poolman are your third pairing defense, that's a lot more comfortable than hearing that both of them are playing, either in a number one slot or a number two slot with Morrissey and with Pionk, respectively. Ezzy, you're on mute.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, I think also Jansen Harkins comes in and we thought there was a good chance that Heinola would come in and Harkins came in as well. And, so I think that added a little bit of energy to the fourth line as well. But, at the end of the day, they came out with more of a complete game as opposed to, some of the games that we've seen in this losing streak where, you had one good period or maybe no good periods. So, you like to see Scheifele, Connor, and Wheeler were good, and they were fine last game as well. They just didn't get the results. So the thing to me that probably was the most encouraging about this game was the power play. And, earlier in the game, it was the second power play unit that had the more dangerous chances. But I think, it obviously, if you go back and look at the goal, I think it was Chris Tanev trips and he runs into whoever was penalty killing for the Flames. So obviously, that left Blake Wheeler wide open. So they get a bit of luck there, but, they needed that goal. Like they were struggling so bad there on the power play. So, but at the end of the day, getting that win, yeah, it helps that you get the win in the 4-0 fashion, but you just needed to end that streak. So that's at the end of the day, what really matters.
What stood out to me is, going back to Monday's game, Adam Lowry on Monday's game against Ottawa was probably one of, if not the most noticeable Winnipeg Jets player. And he comes out into today's game, and obviously we know what he does, getting the two goals for the Jets, the first two goals of the game for the Jets. And he was noticeable all night long. And going back to Saturday's Illegal Curve Hockey Show, this past Saturday's show, I said to you guys sort of who is going to be the Jets ace? Who is going to be the leader on the Jets who's going to stop the bleeding for this team? And, Blake Wheeler gets his 2 goals tonight, so, credit to him. But, he was not as impactful on the game as I thought Adam Lowry was. I thought Lowry sort of in the last 2 games for the Jets took on the responsibility to almost shoulder the load to help the Jets end this losing streak. And as a result, he gets rewarded with the 2 goals. Adam Lowry as an aggressive, powerful, driving force for this Winnipeg Jets team is a difference maker that we haven't seen very often for this team, Dave.
Well, we need a difference maker for Ezzy's internet. That's probably the biggest difference maker we're going to need on this post-game show. I'm going to have to talk to him and find out what kind of ISP he's got going on over there, because clearly it's not sufficient to keep up with the heat that is being brought in this post-game show that that you and I are bringing every night, and all these great people in the chat are bringing. We got a ton of them right now rolling along. Got what do we have, like over 300 people, 335 people in the YouTube chat. This is awesome. So reminder though, smash that like button and make sure you're subscribed. It always helps with our algorithm, so we appreciate it when you do that. The other thing, speaking of 300, the number 300 at least, I should mention Paul Maurice, milestone win for Paul Maurice. His 300th as Winnipeg Jets head coach comes tonight. So appropriate that, people are saying they're getting all the milestones out of the way. I've had some comments we posted on the Illegal Curve Instagram. The Mark Scheifele, Blake Wheeler, and people are saying they should cut the puck in half. Make sure that they share it. Blake Wheeler in his post game comments is saying that Mark Scheifele should get that puck. So, again, at the end of the day, these guys don't really care. Sometimes guys hang on to. That's right. Sometimes guys will keep on those things, but at the end of the day, these guys just wanted to pick up a win. They didn't want to talk to us. Well, we're not talking to them right now because we're doing the show, but they didn't want to talk to our media brethren about the losing streak anymore. And, the one I've got to say is, like, a guy like Dylan DeMello, it was, I don't want to say he wasn't arrogant. He wasn't cocky, but he was confident. And he understood. He was very even this morning talking ahead of the game, following the morning skate, about where this team is and their chances and the way they've played and the way they, oh, that's true, but the way they've played. So I think that's a, it came through. We've seen some good things from this team. Obviously they weren't getting the results, but overall it was a much better game. Now, again, it's one game against the Calgary team that's on the outside looking in. Yeah. And so that's obviously going to factor in. But at the same time, like, that should have been a desperate Calgary team, right? I mean, that's the Calgary team that was trying to, sorry, I got to quick do an aside on my own conversation, because I saw someone's email the other day and it was AOL. And I thought to myself, like it just made me harken back to the days, like when you get the AOL CD and Gerald right now is telling Ezzy.
You go to 7-Eleven and get it for free and then dial up at a solid 14.4 or something like that.
Whatever. But it's just funny because we just had a comment saying, tell Ezzy to stop using dial-up and get real internet. We don't know what's going on with Ez, but we haven't heard from him. Well, no text either. So we're not sure if he's rejoining the post game, but that just means just more of me and Drew, guys. That's just more of Drew and I.
Exactly right. But, you talk about, look, Calgary's not a great team, and this doesn't necessarily change the Jets' fortunes going forward, but it allows them to breathe. It gets the weight off of their shoulders. You got 4 games left in the regular season. You have Ottawa on Saturday, and this is an Ottawa team that absolutely kicked the living heck out of the Montreal Canadiens tonight. And this is an Ottawa team that is playing some damn good hockey as of late.
I think that's 12 wins or 13 wins in their last 17 games. So yes. I mean, this is not a team that you can. That's what I said after the last game, though, Drew. As he's coming back, that's what I said after the last game. I said, like, that's something you have to understand about this Ottawa team, is that they're not a pushover. Oh, we lost. There he goes, as he's back in the chat. So I think Ottawa is going to be a big test, and I think it's incumbent on Paul Maurice to continue to roll with this group. I mean, he said it himself, right? He's almost like he's a victim of his own words. What was he going to say? If a guy has a good game, I'm not taking him out. Well, if the team has a good game, you're not taking them out. So there wouldn't really be a reason. You've seen what Jordy Brand can do. For some reason, you're playing him on the left side, even though his numbers would always suggest to play him on the right side. which is where he's better. But I would be shocked on Friday in Winnipeg if the Jets change this lineup, because again, Harkins, I agree with Ezzy. Harkins comes in and he does what Harkins does. And if you're, again, I said this before, if you want Vesalainen, Christian Vesalainen, despite the fact that he's playing better and he'll try and adapt to whatever role, he's a winger. He's a goal scoring winger. That's what really ideally you'd have him suited to be doing. Jansen Harkins is a more cerebral player. So if you want to throw him on the fourth line or you want to throw him on the second line, he's more adaptable than Christian Vesalainen. So to me, if you want to do that, put him on the fourth, that's fine, because that's where he's going to be. But again, like I said, I just think it's a situation where why would you make any changes? I know that people want Logan Stanley in, but you have to think about it from the coaching perspective. Paul Maurice isn't a guy who's going to go and drop a bunch of young players into his lineup. I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't think so. What do you think, Ezzy?
Sometimes just restarting your computer really helps. So this is way better. I don't know what it looked like for everybody else, but like the video was so choppy. I couldn't, like, there was audio and there was no video. So I just restarted the old router and restarted the computer, and it's much better now. So yeah, I mean, going back to what you were saying, Dave, about the lines and the D pairs. I mean, obviously, we know Ehlers isn't going to come back for these last 4 games here.
Right.
5 games or 4 games?
4 games left.
Yeah,
4 games left. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. It's,
Big Daddy looks like he's having a struggle tonight, I got to say.
Oh yeah, there was a bit of a struggle. I was struggling with the kids a little bit earlier. There was just a lot going on here, but the Jets weren't struggling, and that's what's the most important. But yeah, I mean, like, when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense to have Heinola and DeMello together. And I don't know about Forbort and Poolman. Like, I think the jury's still out. Like, I thought they were okay, but I don't know. Like, I probably would prefer seeing Logan Stanley paired up with Tucker Poolman, but we'll see what happens here. And, we know some guys are going to rest, right? Like, we know that's inevitable, guys, that we're going to see, some of the guys that have played the majority of the season or all of the season rest, right? And we've talked about maybe that being Forbort or some of the more veteran players. So I really liked what I saw. And I think that's what you're looking for here. In addition to, winning some of these games, or hopefully winning all the games, you're looking to see a little continuity with the lines, right? And we know, guys, Copp, Lowry, Appleton, I mean, that's just put that on the board. Most likely that's going to be your third line come playoff time. But the jury's still out too as well on, are you going to have, Dubois and Stastny up the middle? Because for the majority of Dubois' time and Stastny's second tour here in Winnipeg, you've had one of those 2 players on the wing. And I think there's a good chance that, Stastny continues to play on the wing, but I don't know necessarily, if you're going to have the best results with that. But because of the way the lines are constructed now, it looks like Maurice is going to keep Stastny on the wing. But I like Dubois' game. I don't know if you guys talked about it when I cut out, but, even though Dubois, he still can't buy a goal, and he didn't have, those high danger scoring chances. I liked his game, right? Like winning board battles. Yep. Mm-hmm. He was noticeable tonight. And we talked about the second power play as well. I thought the second power play, with Lowry out there, and that's, again, going back to what we talked about before, right? Like, Lowry's out there on the power play as well. That's not with Lowry, right? So, just great individual performances, but more importantly, it was a great team performance. They played great team defense, and for the most part, Calgary couldn't do anything in that game.
Drew, just let me jump in quickly. Sorry, I got to make a quick correction, because as someone pointed out in the comments, they too would be surprised if there was a line change. Line change is done on Friday, since the game is actually on Saturday, not on Friday. So just a quick clarification, an error on my part. It will be a busy Saturday with our Saturday morning show starting at 9:00, the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. And then, of course, this post-game show Saturday, not Friday.
Yes, that's right. Don't tune into the Friday post-game show, because you'll be waiting for a good long time because that one doesn't exist. But you're in good company.
It'll be a Moose Marley's one, but I don't know that. I don't know how many people want to do that one with me versus a Jets one.
You're in good company though, Dave, because our buddy Scotty Billick also tweeted earlier about the game upcoming on Friday, and until he realized
it's Scott's fault.
I feel like there's been a lot of Friday games. I think so. It's, we can forgive you, Dave, and forgive Scotty B.
Anyways, so what stood out to me from the Jets tonight, though, is that they played the game that they want to play. When they were succeeding earlier in the year, they were playing like this. They were opportunistic. They were moving the puck well. They were getting it. They were getting contributions really up and down the lineup and up and down the defensive pairs. And during the struggles, when everything would just seem to be so difficult for everyone, they couldn't even get the puck out of their own zone. In that first period alone tonight, I couldn't count the number of times that the Jets had clean breakouts from their own zone, something that they had so much trouble with. Clean breakouts, starting with a good first pass. Clean breakouts, starting with a defenseman skating the puck out of their zone. Part of that certainly has to do with playing against the Calgary Flames team that really didn't put up much of a fight. But the Jets don't get to control what their opposition does. And a Jets team that had been so bereft of confidence and so bereft of anything positive will take the positives where they can find them. And that's what they got tonight. When they look at the tape of tonight's game, it resembles when they were playing their best hockey, that they were getting those clean breakouts, that they were clearing the zone easily, that they were putting the puck in deep and they were going to get the puck. And even when they were getting clean zone entries into the flame zone and the offensive side of things, it was just a crisper, simpler game by the Winnipeg Jets tonight. It wasn't, as I said on, I guess this would be Saturday, when the after the game against Montreal, where we said they were 5 individuals playing hockey at the same time. Tonight, they were much more of a unit. 5 men all working towards the same goal, be it getting the puck deep in the offensive zone, be it getting the puck out of their own zone. Whatever way it was much crisper and much simpler, much more efficient of the Winnipeg Jets in tonight's contest. And that's what I think is so important for the Jets. Not only the win, because the win is obviously huge when you lose 7 in a row, but that the win came in looking how they wanted to look. There was no cheat to the game, like Paul Stastny said however many games ago in that post-game comment, that they had been cheating the game for the last couple of weeks and still getting success. No cheat in their game tonight. Connor Hellebuyck with the shutout, Wheeler with the 2 goals, Lowry with the 2 goals. I know he didn't get on the scoreboard, but even a guy like Kyle Connor, I thought, was more dangerous tonight. He was more visible tonight than he had for the last really 7 games during the losing streak.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any question about it. I thought Kyle Connor looked more engaged. And I think the comment that right now that we're putting up from Jeff, the Jets just look quicker, as he made the point earlier in the show. I just thought that like they were a quicker team than we've seen them be of late. And whether it's, having a travel day, even though it was an insane, and again, I use insane in quotes because of course this is a team that's flying, they're chartering from Ottawa to Calgary. Still, it's a, 4.5 hour flight, Drew. You've done it probably 1,000 times. So it's a well, you used to live in Ottawa, so maybe you've done the flight.
I lived in Ottawa. I never lived in Calgary.
Yeah, I know, but you did the flight Ottawa to Winnipeg, and then just add a couple hours to Calgary. I mean,
you're not.
I wasn't following you either, there, Dave. Like I'm not sure what was going on there, but
anyways,
I didn't fly to Calgary and then fly to Winnipeg. I flew to Winnipeg.
Sometimes back in the day, remember when people actually used to be able to travel? That was one of the things you sometimes had to do. You'd fly like over the place you needed to go. You fly to Vancouver to go to Calgary. Made no sense. Anyway,
at no point was that a rational thought.
Your day, Mr. Minuk. I'm not sure where you've been booking your travel from, but I think you might need to improve on those booking skills.
Maybe we need a travel sponsor. Maybe we need a travel sponsor.
Not quite as good as
points.
Not quite as good as the individual in the.
Yeah, I was like Ezzy Ginsberg making fun of it, funny me after he came back from the 2017 draft in Chicago and spent 14 hours in Duluth, Minnesota, trying to track down Dylan Samberg to do an interview at like 4 a.m.
As he did have a layover coming back from Chicago. He took the circuitous route from coming back from the NHL draft of Chicago to Duluth, Minnesota, overnighting in the Duluth airport, I might add, by himself. Yeah. Duluth to Minneapolis to Winnipeg. Is that right?
Who can remember that? That was 4 years ago. But the reason why I booked that flight is because Dave and I were supposed to drive to the draft. We were supposed to do the Winnipeg to Chicago drive.
Crossing the border with Ezzy is always a risk.
Yeah,
I've been pulled over into the customs room getting
The only
crossing
time
the border with Ezzy.
the only time crossing the
I've
border
been
with
strip
Ezzy,
searched before. It wasn't very fun.
the only time crossing the border with Ezzy, sorry, this is another segue, but the only time crossing the border with Ezzy was no problems when we flew to Toronto, and then we rented a car and we drove to the 2016 draft in Buffalo. And I was like so mad, like I'm waiting. It was a huge lineup of cars. Ezzy and I are frustrated. I'm like, this is taking so long. Why are people wasting so much time? Just answer the questions and get the hell out. Get through. Let's go. So we get to the border, and the guy's like, "Where are you guys from?" We're like, "Winnipeg." He's like, "What are you guys doing?" "We're going to cover the draft in Buffalo." "Oh, really?" So 10 minutes later,
I remember him wanting to talk about Zach Bogosian.
Because
like, Bogo is from upstate New York, right?
Yeah, he goes, "What did you think of Zach Bogosian?" Nicest guy. Shook at mine and Ezzy's hand. Let us through, no problem. That's the only time crossing the border with Ezzy is easy.
I've had one bad experience at the border, and it was Ezzy, and I had a beard at the time, and Ezzy had a big beard at the time.
Oh boy.
And guess who the third in the car was?
Matt Leibel, obviously.
Matt Leibel with another big beard. Rabbi Leibel with another big beard. The three of us were crossing the border. We were heading to Mini to go to a football game. Boy, did they pull us over and make sure that we weren't carrying any contraband.
But wasn't that also the same trip on the way back when the officer said, "Do you have any weapons?" And Ezzy says, "Just these guns."
No, that wasn't me.
Okay, let's get back to hockey.
That was another friend of ours. But just quickly on that Chicago draft, Dave's Baba was unfortunately sick at the time. But the only reason there was that connecting flight in Duluth, I mean, we could do a whole show on that. I actually slept on a chair by myself in the Duluth airport for like 5 or 6 hours because there was literally nobody in that airport because everybody that was coming into Duluth just went home, right? Like the Minneapolis Duluth Winnipeg flight is not a common flight. So I remember I actually went to a bar at like 11 or 12 in the morning and had a couple beers by myself just to kill time. And then I ended up falling asleep in the Duluth airport. But the reason why that flight happened was because I had to book something the night before. But it was a good little time. Good people in Duluth.
Now he's in charge of 2 children's well-being, everybody. So, feel things are going well in the Ginsburg household. In any event, the Winnipeg Jets victors tonight 4-0 over the Calgary Flames. They're heading to the playoffs. They've clinched a playoff spot with tonight's victory. Nice to see so many of you joining us in the chat room. In case you're new here, be sure to give us a thumbs up, smash the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We go live each and every game, after each and every game with the Illegal Curve post-game show. And then Saturday morning, 9 o'clock, of course, it'll be the Illegal Curve hockey show right back here on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms. I think on Saturday, you just have to run back the same lineup. I mean, I know what they said about, and if you want to make a change to the back end, and if you want to give, you can now start resting guys. I mean, you've clinched the playoffs. So now this needs to be time where you use the next 4 games to strategically rest some guys. And if that means Derek Forbort gets Saturday off and Logan Stanley plays, great. And if that means Tucker Poolman gets Monday off and Jordy Ben plays on his off wing, which he's better at doing, then great. But the next 4 games are really all about rest. And yes, you want to win them. No question about that. I'm not discounting the importance of the games. But, frankly, if you're the Jets, it doesn't really matter if you finish 3rd or 4th. And really, that's the only 2 options you have right now. You're not going to, I know mathematically you can, but you're not going to catch the Edmonton Oilers at this point in time. You're 7 points behind them. It's not important to finish 2nd in the standings. And, theoretically, you want to stay ahead of the Montreal Canadiens. You have the tiebreaker on them. You're 2 points up on them. Really, you're 3 points up on them because you have the tiebreaker. So I think the key for Jets head coach Paul Maurice now is to really use the next few games as an opportunity to get some strategic rest for players. And I'm not even counting the Toronto game a week from Friday.
That's going to be the Marlies. That's going to be the
Marlies versus the Moose.
The Marlies and Moose are playing tomorrow.
Dave, I think Lonnie Bahanas is going to play in that game.
Oh yeah, that game is going to be Moose versus Marlies. Let me tell you, they're not. It's if you're talking about the idea of, Drew, you were talking about it. It feels like a million years ago. The idea of exhibition. After these, they're going to play. They're going to want to have the Jets aren't in a position yet to just be casual. You need to kind of seal this in, keep this kind of rolling. So to me, it's you want to have a good game against the Senators on Saturday. You play back-to-back against the Canucks Monday, Tuesday. To me, again, opportunity to use those guys, the tax, like no point in playing a guy like Derek Forbort, who to me looks who's slowed down significantly. Give the guy a rest.
Missed a game all year. He's played 52 games this year, hasn't he?
Missed a game. So I mean, again,
it goes back to what Drew said too, though. Dave, it keeps a guy like Logan Stanley fresh, right?
That's right, absolutely.
And or gives Jordy Ben maybe 1 or 2 extra games, right? So you guys are both making good points here, and same applies for Christian Vesalainen. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, you'd like to get Vesalainen in 1 or 2 games, even though there's a good chance, that Vesalainen doesn't play in the playoffs. Like, we'll see what happens with injuries and everything like that. But especially Dave with Nick Ehlers back in the lineup, like, right, then Vesalainen, just gets bumped down further. Right. But
for sure. But at the same, Ezzy, to your point, Laine, Scheifele, Appleton, right? Three forwards knocked out in game 1. So you never know how deep you're going to have to go. So you're 100% right. You want to keep Vesalainen, and Paul Maurice said it. What did he say today? He didn't.
I didn't listen. I have no idea.
No. I was being a little rhetorical there because I was going to answer for you just in case you hadn't listened. I wasn't going to reveal that. But the point is, what he said was that he's not coming out because of his play. So it's to your point. You keep him feeling good about his game. Keep him engaged. Don't allow it because again, you brought Juno Luoto up. In theory, I mean, whether he's still with the Moose and it's just a paper transaction or not, the reality is, the guys you're going to. It's Harkins and it's Vesalainen. So you got Harkins in. You may want to keep Vesalainen rolling and feeling good about his game. And same with Stanley. So I'm with you guys. Like I said, I just think like a guy like Forbort looks like he's not 100% and he's lost kind of what that magic. And part of that, of course, is playing with Neil Pionk, who's shown that he's capable of kind of really raising up his partner's game. So to me, I think it's a function of, give these guys, give Ville Heinola more time. And, we haven't heard Paul Maurice's comments yet. So Paul Adet asked me if, so I haven't heard the comment with respect to Ville Heinola, but the way it was referenced is, he's earned himself another look. Again, people are going to, get overly concerned about Paul Maurice. That's kind of Paul Maurice speak. He hasn't coached as many games as he had by not having kind of a way with the word. So to me, I don't really get overly worked up about the things that he says to the media because again, it's not as if he can play him the rest of the year or he can never play him another game. It doesn't really matter. It's not as if this is a legal thing where he's going to have to be, beholden to the comments he made in a post-game comment.
Shout out to Captain Skittles. I love Skittles, especially the original red package.
Look, Ville Heinola, I mean, look, if you don't think he's one of the Jets' 4 best defensemen at this point, I know you've only seen him play 3 games this year. That in and of itself is inexplicable that he's only played 3 games at the NHL level. Mm-hmm. But knowing what you know about Forbort and Poolman and Ben and Stanley, Ville Heinola is one of your top 4 defensemen simply because his ceiling is higher than all the other guys I just mentioned. Did he look out of place at all today with Dylan DeMello? Absolutely not. I mean, I thought he looked... I
thought that was a weak penalty call as well. I know we're not going to get into that. That wasn't
weak. Much of a call
so
at all.
That was not. That's not a knock on him at all. That doesn't factor in.
His physical, even though he's undersized, typically for a defenseman, his body positioning was excellent.
Skating is excellent.
His skating is excellent. Mm-hmm. He helped the Jets clear the zone when they couldn't do that at all during the 7 games. Ville Heinola deserves and needs to be in their lineup on game 1 of the playoffs, which we now know.
He also deserves. Sorry, Drew. I was going to say he also deserves to be in the lineup against Ottawa. And I don't know why you just said this. Like, why are you taking him out? Right? Because he played well. So, I mean, you're not taking him out to get Logan Stanley or Jordy Ben into the lineup. I hope because Ville Heinola has been waiting patiently because Logan Stanley and Jordy Ben were in the lineup, right? So I also just think, for continuity's sake and for experience sake heading into the playoffs, he's got to play the majority of these games, right? So I think, when Paul Maurice decided to put Heinola back in the lineup, I don't think it was just for a one-off game. That's just my own opinion. So I expect him to be in the lineup again next game.
Hey, as a good point, because the truth is the Jets are now 3-0 with Ville Heinola in the lineup. He's only played 3 games, but all 3 of those games are wins. And again, what do you have to lose? You know what you get with Jordy Ben. Jordy Ben is a 7th defenseman. He's serviceable on the right side, but you're not playing him on the right side. He's not very good on the left. The numbers bear it out. He hasn't looked great on the left. He hasn't played very many games, obviously, for the Winnipeg Jets, but you know what you've got in him. And you know what you have in Ville Heinola, or what you will have in Ville Heinola. And to me, the experience he'll gain, to your point, playing in that first game of the playoffs. I mean, again, if it doesn't go well, then you pull him out. It's not as if you can't pull guys out of your lineup, but your opportunity to have a guy who can skate, make that first pass, and again, you've got him with Dylan DeMello, who we've talked about it for how long now, is like this. He's the pony that goes beside the thoroughbred, and he's just a steady guy who's confident in his game. He's been playing a good game. I know it's weird. It's this weird kind of like inconsistency or disconnect with some Jets fans, because people have been kind of dumping on Dylan DeMello. I've actually thought he's had a good season. Obviously started off slow, but I've actually thought he's been one of the better Jets defensemen so far. And it's weird because a lot of people are dumping on him. And to me, again,
if you don't go a layer deeper, and look, he's got no goals, and he's got to suck. No, but I mean, if you don't understand what Dylan DeMello it brings to the table as a player, then I can understand why you're criticizing him. But anybody who knows what his role is and watches the games for the intricacies of what he does understands why Dylan DeMello is so important. The idea that the Jets were going to expose Dylan DeMello in the expansion draft is a non-starter as far as I'm concerned, even if that means they lose Logan Stanley, simply because Dylan DeMello provides a level of comfort for the coaching staff.
And you also signed him to a 3-year deal.
Right. And he also provides a level of comfort and for the players that he plays with. Ville Heinola is able to play his game with the understanding that his D partner, Dylan DeMello, is always going to be in the right position, because DeMello doesn't take himself out of position. That's not what he does as a player. He's consistent. He's steady. He's honest. Every team needs a guy like that. And as much as it might hurt a lot of people to see Logan Stanley get selected by the Seattle Kraken at the expansion draft, can you imagine this Jets defense minus Dylan DeMello on that right side?
Well, and we don't know. I mean, it's all speculation right now about who they're going to protect. So, I mean, why we shouldn't really even be focusing on that right now, right? Like, I know what you're saying, though, Drew.
On the right side without Dylan DeMello, it's pretty thin as is. Take him out of there. And that's why him playing on that third pairing role all season long also never made any sense. This is a guy who, can play in that second pairing role, won't give you any offense, but again, that's not what he is as a player. He provided a level of comfort for the Jets tonight. It allowed Morrissey and Pionk to play together, which I thought provided both of those guys a level of comfort with their game tonight. I thought Morrissey and Pionk looked better tonight than they had in the last few weeks. Just the domino effect of Heinola in the lineup and DeMello playing with him and what it did for all the other defensemen, I thought it properly slotted them into roles that they belonged in, as opposed to before when they were all playing. The D partners just had warts all over it, the D pairings, and I thought those warts were mitigated tonight by the rejigging of the defense.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
No, I was just going to wish happy birthday to Nolan Podcast. It's his birthday. He's very happy that the Jets won Nolan Hockey Podcast. So happy birthday to Nolan. And again, I think it's something we've been talking about for a while, is that you wanted to see a retooling of these D pairs. And it was something that was necessary. One was the inclusion of a guy like Ville Heinola. Two was to change things up. Pionk and Forbort hasn't worked for a while. So putting Forbort with Poolman, whatever. Again, like I said, there could be some opportunity to make some changes, because, I'm not saying that I understand why Paul Maurice likes Derek Forbort, He's a big, tough guy who's going to protect the front of the net. So that's something you need in the playoffs. So he's probably going to allow him to be in that role. But look at how injured Derek Forbort was last year. He's been healthy. He's played all the games, but give the guy a little bit of rest because he just doesn't look like he's got it going on right now. So to me, give that guy.
He's played 52 games this season in a very short time span. I mean, you look at the Jets, forwards group or the Jets players, and I have it up here on my second screen that I'm looking at. The Jets have 10 players who've played every game this year, and then you add in Dylan DeMello, who missed the first 4 games of the year, and he's played the last 48 games of the season. So, guys like Trevor Lewis, you don't think Trevor Lewis needs a couple games off here between now and the end of the regular season? No question he should get a couple games off. Appleton, same thing. Scheifele, same thing. Pionk, Forbort, Kopp, Morrissey, Stasny, Perreault, Connor. They've all played 52 games this year in a very short period of time. You now have 4 games that, yes, you want to win, but it's not crucial if you do or you don't. Maybe you keep everybody in the lineup for one more game against Ottawa, winning against Ottawa, and then you start to cycle guys in and out and rest guys for the back-to-back against Vancouver on Monday, Tuesday. But you've worked so hard to clinch with these 4 games left that now is the time to start giving guys a night or 2 off just to make sure that they're fresh for the start of the playoffs, which of course we don't exactly know when that's going to be. It sounds like, inexplicably, because this doesn't make a lick of sense, the NHL is still going to make the Flames and the Canucks play those 3 absolutely meaningless games the week of May 17th, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, that's when those games are. Even though both teams are going to be mathematically eliminated from playoff contention, it sounds like the NHL is going to continue to make the Canucks and the Flames keep their season going for reasons that are beyond my understanding.
I don't even think Canucks fans and Flames fans are going to watch those games. Like, who's going to be watching those games? It's like you said, they have no playoff implications at all. Not only do they not have playoff implications, they're just not playoff teams. That's what I meant to say. So it's it's incredible that those games will happen, but I guess they have to happen. But yeah, Drew, going back to what you were saying about players resting, it's not just going to be 1 or 2 defensemen or 1 or 2 forwards. I think you're going to see a lot of players, especially as you mentioned, you listed off all the players that have played all the games this year for the Jets. So, and they deserve it. And it's the smart thing to do, right? Because the Jets have clinched a playoff spot. So, I mean, you especially want to rest these players because the playoffs are going to be an absolute dogfight, regardless of who the Jets are playing. So, it'll, like we said, it'll be an opportunity for, Logan Stanley to get, a few more games, Jordy Ben maybe to get a few more games, some of the Jets depth forwards. And, it like I said, I mean, that's to be expected. It wouldn't really make any sense to not rest players, right? And we know that players are dealing with injuries that we're not aware of, right? Just at this point in the season, it happens with every single team. We know obviously about, the Ehlers injury and, when Lowry, suffers the concussion, we know about that. But I mean, that there's, bumps and bruises that a lot of these guys are dealing with.
Which, for the record, he still said he did not suffer a concussion. He said it was an injury to his neck.
Yeah.
So everybody that thought it was a concussion, because it certainly looked.
Sorry, Wheeler was
Wheeler
a concussion. Lowry was not a concussion.
I saw somebody else also reference that he had a concussion. Maybe it was a day ago or 2 days ago. And I'm like, no, he didn't. He said he didn't have a concussion. We can't just go around assigning concussions to guys when they don't have them. And
that's a good point.
Yeah, no, I'm not jumping on you there, buddy. It's just saying that I saw somebody else say the same thing, and he said it was a neck injury. It wasn't a concussion related incident for Adam Lowry. I want to hold your thoughts there, guys. When we come back, I want to talk about the goaltending deployment for the next 4 games. Hellebuyck, obviously, with the shutout tonight. How would you use Brossoit, Hellebuyck, maybe Comrie, maybe Burden over the next 4 games of the regular season, the final 4 games of the regular season? The Jets are playoff bound. We're talking about that and much more. You're listening, you're watching, you're chatting with the Illegal Curve post-game show. We'll be right back after these words.
Keeping Winnipeg laughing for over 30 years. Rumors, Canada's longest-running comedy club, bringing you the biggest laughs from the best comedians on the planet. Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the greats, and all the up-and-comers too. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends, or book your office or birthday party. Even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
Hey, Drew.
Ezzy, whoa, what a smile!
Yeah, I got my crowns done at Linden Market Dental Center, and they whiten my teeth.
I see.
They're so bright that every time I smile, they go...
We have hockey tonight. Do you have a mouth guard to protect those pearly whites?
I sure do.
Whoa, they even ting through the mouth guard.
Linden Market Dental Center covers all your dental needs, from restorative to cosmetic dentistry, and will fit you with a sports guard for that active lifestyle. 877 Waverly. See lindenmarketdental.com.
Hi, it's Drew from Illegal Curve here. Selling your home can be stressful, but it wasn't for me. Thanks to my friends at Zappia Group Realty, they made the process so easy. My home sold within 48 hours, and with multiple offers. Zappia Group Realty took care of everything with their exquisite customer service and attention to detail. If you want to sell your home for more in less time, get started by talking to Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Online at zappiagroup.com.
While you can't always count on your team winning, nor your favorite player scoring, one thing you can always count on is Bernstein's Deli. They've expanded their services because the team at Bernstein's Deli wants to accommodate your needs and keep you safe. Open Tuesday to Saturday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. to serve you. Head to your phone, in-store or online to shop for groceries or order meals from the restaurant, like the legendary Illegal Curve sandwich. Just go to bernsteinsdeli.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal, starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
Welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. What is this? Wednesday night. Almost Thursday morning now as we trickle into the wee hours. Nice to see so many of you joining us here on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms. A reminder, we do this each and every time the Winnipeg Jets play. It is the Illegal Curve post-game show. Saturday morning, it's the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, also live back here on our YouTube channel. While you're here, be sure to hit the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, smash the like button, all that good stuff. That's what we ask from you as we bring you Winnipeg Jets content on this Wednesday night. Before the break, I asked you guys, how would you deploy the goaltending over the final 4 games of the regular season here? We obviously have Saturday night against the Ottawa Senators, the revenge matchup for the Winnipeg Jets, I say with my tongue firmly in cheek. Then you got Monday, Tuesday against the Vancouver Canucks, who are certainly playing out the string of the season. And then next Friday against the Toronto Maple Leafs, a game that I think if you ask nicely, you too can play for one of those two teams, as neither team is going to give a damn about that game at all. So where do you use Laurent Brossoit? Where do you use Connor Hellebuyck? Where do you use Eric Comrie or Mikkel Burden between now and the end of the regular season?
Yeah, I think we know that, there's going to be 2 different goalies for those back-to-back Vancouver games, but I would probably give Brossoit the next game and, let him, maybe get a little revenge on the Senators, because Brossoit played really well on Monday night. And then I'd probably just do a Brossoit, Hellebuyck, Hellebuyck to kind of end the season, give Hellebuyck that last game against Toronto. I think it makes a lot of sense. We know Hellebuyck has played more games than any other goaltender, so that's what I would probably do. Give Brossoit the next game, and then give him the second game of the back-to-back against Vancouver.
Dave Minuk, how would you deploy the goaltending?
Yeah, I mean, Mikkel Burden really isn't an option because he's on the road right now with the Manitoba Moose, who are on the road till I think the 14th or 15th of May, when they end their series, their regular season in Belleville. So Mikkel Burden's up with the Moose, so you can't really think of him as an option. Eric Comrie on the taxi squad. It'd be interesting to see what they end up doing if you maybe let Comrie back up Laurent Brossoit in a game to give Hellebuyck a night to not have to even dress. That's probably what I'd be inclined to do. Not necessarily because you want Brossoit to be sharp. And so if you're going to have games for him to play, Eric Comrie just played 3 games to Manitoba Moose. So he's feeling good. He's feeling in a rhythm. He's probably actually played more than Laurent Brossoit of late. So to me, really what I would do is I'd give Brossoit a game. I'd give, obviously, like as he said, you're not going back to back with your goaltenders against the Canucks. So each goaltender is going to get a start. But realistically, you probably want to go Hellebuyck on Monday, Brossoit on Tuesday, and then again, depending on the way they look at it, either play Hellebuyck the full game against the Leafs, or don't, if you don't want to take a risk, maybe play him half a game, almost like an exhibition game, because you don't want to give him too long a rest. That's the only thing, right? Because you got to remember that right now we don't know when the North Division is going to start. So if you don't play Connor Hellebuyck against the Marlies, I know you're thinking you don't want to take a risk, right? But at the same time, remember, we don't know when the playoffs are going to start. The last Jets game is what, May 14th, I think?
The last Jets game is Friday, May 14th. The last North Division game, as I mentioned before the break, those pointless Calgary-Vancouver games, the last North Division game is actually scheduled for 2 weeks from today, which is May 19th, even though the rest of the regular season for the NHL, particularly down south, that the regular season wraps up May 15th. They're talking about May 17th to start the other playoff series, but they're not yet clear as to when they're going to start the North Division playoffs. Do they have to, I mean,
why don't you play them at the same time? Why don't you let the North Division start their playoffs while the Canucks and the Flames are still playing these meaningless games?
The only reason they won't do that, even though they should, the only reason would be optics. But there's no reason why. I think what you might see is the Flames and the Canucks play that game. If they make them play that game on the 19th, then maybe they play that game at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon when nobody's going to watch it because it doesn't matter. And then you start the North Division playoffs that night. But your point, though, it's clear there's going to be at least by the looks of it.
Can I make my point? Why are you making my point?
Sorry, you can make your point. Yes.
I was like, well, why do I need you to make my? Why would I need you to make my point?
I'm your official spokesperson.
Yeah, I don't think Ezzy's my official spokesperson, not you. Come on.
You need a better official spokesperson.
Nah, come on. Look, he's an Adonis, that guy. Anyways, all I was gonna say is that you really just want to give those guys kind of a, and it's a question that Weber, who I know we're going to send people over to Kenny and Rennie soon enough. He's been talking about the idea of what.
I'm watching it on my second screen here. It's not just Kenny and Rennie. It's Kenny and Rennie, and there's Scotty Billick as well. But what you have on screen are dueling Boston Red Sox hats. Rennie is wearing a different type of Red Sox hat, and Billick is also wearing a Red Sox hat. So a couple of
so it's a fever pitch.
Good one, Ez. Good reference. Anyways, point is, the idea is that Kenny was asking about rest versus rhythm, and Connor Hellebuyck obviously wants to play a lot of games. But as Dennis referenced on the broadcast, started more games than any other goaltender in the NHL this season with 42nd tonight. So he's played plenty. He looks good tonight. You give him 2 more games at most, and you allow him to be fresh and ready to go, because we know, boys, who's got to be your number one player in this playoffs. It's not Mark Scheifele. It's not Blake Wheeler. It's not Pierre-Luc Dubois. It's not Ville Heinola. It's
Jordy
Connor
Ben.
Hellebuyck. It's Jordy Ben, and then Connor Hellebuyck.
That's right. Exactly. One A and one B, right? That's how it works.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Well, let's leave it there. It is getting the clock is about to strike midnight, and Ezzy's going to turn into a pumpkin, or at least eat some pumpkin pie. Either way,
glad my kids didn't wake up.
I actually was the devil on my shoulder was sort of hoping that they would wake up just to see the reaction on your face and Naomi's reaction to you waking the kids up.
Well, that's it, Drew. It's not my reaction. If Naomi found out that I went upstairs and woke up the kids, I would not be alive.
That's true. We would be holding auditions to
Naomi has shown me where I'm going to be buried. It's in the backyard. Like, I know exactly. Like, she tells me every day where it is. But we're all good. The kids are sleeping.
There you go. Let's let them keep sleeping. It's time for you to go sleep as well there. You look like you could use a good night's schluff there, Mr. Ginsburg. Dave, you look as bright-eyed and bushy-tailed as you usually do.
Which is why I'll remind people that even though we didn't play the Paul Maurice and post-game videos, we'll have that on a little site called illegalcurve.com where we've got the post-game recap. So make sure you head down to the little website called illegalcurve.com. We're going to have all the latest Jets post-game media availability, as well as further analysis, the notable facts, anything you want, one-stop shop, post-game recap on a little site called illegalcurve.com. And the Moose and Marlies kick off the final the road trip of the season for the Manitoba Moose as they close out their 2021 season. We'll have that covered as well. So make sure you stick to illegalcurve.com, because even though the Jets are off tomorrow traveling back to Winnipeg from Calgary, we'll still have plenty of content on illegalcurve.com.
How many times can Dave say illegalcurve.com in one sentence? I believe he did 5 times there. You can see the man is ready for the playoffs with that kind of promotional abilities. Want to say a big thank you to our sponsors, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Bernstein's Deli, and Boston Pizza. Support these fine local businesses because they support Illegal Curve Hockey. Reminder, the Illegal Curve post-game show. The next version of the post-game show will be Saturday night, following the Jets and the Senators. Right around
Drew. Sorry. Can you get Will 69 for food? That comment up there.
No, but it's a funny one. This is supposed to be a family show, boys. Come on.
That made me laugh.
Once the clock strikes midnight, all
Nice
bets
comment,
are off
brother.
at that point in time.
Fair enough.
Anyways,
You're not
big
wrong,
thank
by
you
the
to
way.
big thank you to our sponsors because they make the Illegal Curve Hockey Show a reality. Saturday night, the post-game show right around 8:40 or so p.m. We'll discuss what happened between the Jets and the Senators. 9 o'clock Saturday morning, the Illegal Curve Hockey Show back here on our YouTube channel. Going to be joined by Mike McIntyre to talk more about the Jets. I believe Ian Mendez is going to join us to talk about the Ottawa Senators from their perspective. Other guests still to be announced. Check out our Twitter feed at Illegal Curve for all the latest news about that. The Jets are victors 4-0 tonight in Calgary. They're off to the playoffs. That'll start at an indeterminate date sometime in the next couple of weeks. Big thanks to everybody for joining us on your way out. Smash the like button, so hit the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up. For more post-game talk, Kenny and Rennie and Sandstorm is what I'm seeing on the screen over there now. So that's Ken Weeb, Sean Reynolds, and our buddy Scott Billick as well. More talk over there. You can go get that. You can go check that out. For Ezra Ginsburg, for Dave Minuk, I am your host, Drew Mandel. Thanks for watching. This has been the Illegal Curve post-game show.